Hey everyone, welcome to the Coffeehouse Conversations podcast. And I'm your host, Amos St. John. Took a little break this last month after celebrating my birthday. I mean, many of you don't know, 10 days after my birthday, my wife has her birthday. So I know I have a very small window to celebrate mine's before I have to share. And we shared and had a great month of September. We had a great time. You see on our social medias, if you follow us personally, that we went to a concert. We experienced some great time with had some family fun and did some great things. So thank you for all the birthday wishes. Thank you for wishing my wife her birthday in the month of September. Now we're in October, and I've been spending the last couple of weeks, reflecting, thinking through some things and dealing with, some plans and some action plans actually, what's next for me? What do I got going on next? And so, if you haven't already, go to my ASJ Coffeehouse Conversations page on IG or Facebook, and you see a video of me sharing what's next for me. It's a very important step that I'm about to take, and I'll talk more about it in the next podcast. But if you want to get a little preview of what's going on, please feel free to check it out on my IG or Facebook, ASJ Coffeehouse Conversations. And so, I'm always looking for a new challenge, an opportunity to grow. And, I listen to a lot of podcasts, read quite a few books, and I actually started listening to audiobooks. It's a great addition. It's a different a way of reading books, and I'm now a part of the audiobooks club. Now I'm hip, so I like it. It really helps. Keeps me, give me a jolt of inspiration, and it gives me something to move forward, and it gives me something that I need to make it through the day and be productive. You know what I mean? But what happens when you reach a moment of distraction or disruption? And for me, when I reach those moments, I tend to slow down a little bit or stop doing those good things. And so, I on this podcast, I'm talking about exchanging habits, and so when I'm reflecting in my life, I look at those moments of things that I started and never quite finished, projects, endeavors, and stuff. I had to start digging a little deeper to figure out what happened, what caused the disruption or distraction or the interruption. And I'm realizing that there's some thoughts that came out of that, and I want to talk about those. Okay, the first thought I want to talk about. What caused some of these things to trip and not quite make it to the finish line? I realized that I have triggers, that starts this downward spiral. There are things or situations or environments or thoughts that cause triggers for me to just start derailing out of my productivity. And now I realize in order to overcome it, I have to reset or exchange my focus, the kind of ways to reset my focus. I have to basically exchange my habits from bad ones to good ones. You know what I mean? Because, in recognizing these triggers, let me back up a little bit. How do you recognize these triggers, Amos? Well, I take time to be self-reflective, and look in the mirror and also be self-aware. And I can tell, like, okay, like I mentioned, these are some triggers that's caused me to fall off the wagon. So, anyways, how do I change it? How do I change this? And I'm realizing the older I get, the more aware I become of my good and bad behaviors or habits. And for example, I've been dealing with this weight and obesity issue for quite a few times, actually majority of my life. And now that I'm much older, I see what causes me to go down that emotional roller coaster that causes the bad eating, the bad nutrition, and falling off the wagon. So now I'm very intentional on reversing this behavior and or habit by exchanging bad ones with good ones. For example, I love me some Dunkin' Donuts, y'all. Oh, jeez. I don't know what it is about Dunkin' Donuts, but I love me some Dunkin' Donuts. So every morning, sometimes my daughter, if we don't get a chance to make her breakfast home on the way to school, we stop by the donut shop. And so she gets a little snack or something on the way to school because we have a long commute to her school. And even when I finish dropping her off, there's a Dunkin' Donuts by our school. So I go by there and grab me some Dunkin' Donuts. Now, every once in a while, I'll indulge. But when it becomes like an everyday habit, that's when I realize, oh my goodness. And it was like that when I was living in Maryland. There was a Dunkin' Donuts by my job, and I used to go there and tear up some donuts and some sugary lattes, and oh man, it's just. But I love me some Dunkin' Donuts. But how do you exchange bad habits for good ones? Well, you know what I do in the morning. I get up and make me a smoothie, a healthy smoothie. I fill it up with great protein, great fibers and minerals, and it fills me up, and I drink it on the way to dropping my daughter to school. Those are the examples of exchanging bad habits for good ones. And so it's not an overnight process, but that's something I've learned and I'm processing through, and it's been a great adjustment. Now that I'm entering into a different chapter in my life, smoothie is going to play a very integral part on it, and we'll talk more about it. Another thought. I realized that I need to engage in better ways of thinking, because one negative thought in the morning can literally derail my whole morning, sometimes my whole day. And if I allow myself to think of that negative thought, it just goes down and bad. So how do I change that? So I become very intentional on reversing this behavior and or habit, by exchanging bad habits for good ones. Let's give an example of that. So instead of picking up my phone first thing in the morning, I take a moment to breathe. Even in the silence, even in the darkness in the room, I just take a moment to breathe, meditate, think happy thoughts. For those who are believers, I read the Bible. Or just take a moment to breathe. And I take a moment to recite positive declarations to myself every day. And I reject negative energy and focus on smiling and being at peace. Now, I ain't perfect. I have my moments. But sometimes watching the morning news or scrolling through your phone, I don't think are good habits to have if you want to reject negative energy. Because, sometimes the news, it just gets on your nerves. It's about something that just excites you or just gets you angry or something like that. Or you scroll through your phone and something pops up on your social media. Those are not good behaviors to if you want to start your day off with good and healthy and positive thoughts. And so it's good to make that exchange of the bad habits for good ones. My final thought, I need to really learn to embrace healthy isolation. What I mean by that, I mentioned that on my last podcast. 10 years ago, I had a 30th birthday party. I had tons of people there. All my friends, associates, close people were there. And then 10 years later on my 40th, I just had only, some of my close friends that were able to make it there. And it was a different experience. 10 years ago, I said my 40th was going to be lit. It's going to be better than the 30th. And then it was, but it's not the way I thought it was. The older you get, you realize that it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And so it was difficult to adjust to it. But, when I realized that the quantity of people in my circle has gotten smaller, but the quality of those who will remain is quite stronger. And it's difficult to get used to, because you used to just picking up a phone and you can engage in a random convo with somebody, as a distraction. But, you don't have that luxury anymore because you're getting older. You're getting wiser. You're getting more, established in your career, in your life, with your family. Things change. And so you have to embrace that healthy isolation. And so you got to embrace seasons. There are seasons where your social life is like extravagant, and there are seasons where your social life will not be as extravagant. And so don't let it get you down, embrace it. It's like experiencing an elevation of the quality of your life. Now, when you're talking about elevation, going higher and higher, imagine you in the mountain. You're climbing up a mountain. The higher you get, the thinner the quality of air gets. You know what I mean? But here's the change. Here's the caveat. The change, although the quality of air is a little thinner, look at the perspective you're getting, the vantage point of being higher in elevation. So when you're experiencing elevation in your life, you're experiencing a thinning, but also you are exchanging to a better perspective of life, a better vantage point in life. So embrace the healthy isolation, because I consider it as an elevation of the quality of your life. No more drama. And so let's keep living a life of peace. Let's find ways to keep moving forward. Let's find ways to keep loving one another. You know what I mean? Remember, it's important to exchange those bad habits for healthier ones to overcome, triggers that leads to bad behaviors, that leads to negative thinking, and to help you embrace healthy isolation. Now, it's not an overnight process. So, you just got to keep pushing. Let's keep pushing. Take this thing one day at a time. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I'm glad to be back for this Coffeehouse Conversations podcast. Got a lot in store for you for the future. And until next time, please have a great day.